Welcome back to Hardball. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are ratcheting up their attacks on each other as that new Washington Post poll out of Iowa shows Obama with a significant lead if you don't count the margin of error. He's up about 4 points. David Schuster has the latest on that race in Iowa, which is only 1 full month away, finally.
Today in New Hampshire, as Barack Obama was speaking about education.
It's time we treated teaching like the profession it is.
His campaign team was celebrating a big breakthrough in the first caucus state of Iowa. Not only does a major poll there show Obama ahead of Hillary Clinton, if still within a statistical tie, but the numbers also reveal Democrats starting to embrace a crucial Obama theme.
The change that's possible in this election, that is the moment I want to seize as president.
That theme is sticking and growing in importance, according to the latest Washington Post ABC News survey. Asked what is more important in a presidential candidate this election, 55% of Iowa Democrats said new direction and new ideas, compared to 33% who favored strength and experience. The spread has doubled and is growing since the summer. For her part, Clinton is trying to reframe Obama's signature message to her advantage.
But change is just a word, without the strength and experience to make it happen.
And Clinton is pointing out that in this post-9/11 world, the U.S. faces huge foreign policy challenges as well as budget and economic hurdles.
But there is one job we can't afford on-the-job training for. That is the job of our next president. That could be the costliest job training in history.
Clinton may have a natural advantage on economic strength and experience because the last Clinton administration produced the biggest economic boom in decades. But Obama is trying to undercut Hillary Clinton's talking points.
My understanding was that she wasn't Treasury Secretary in the Clinton administration.
And for now, at least in Iowa, Obama's strategy of promoting change while diminishing Clinton's experience is working. Obama's rise in Iowa also coincides with the growing intensity of his campaign, coupled with some significant stumbles by Clinton starting last month. At the MSNBC debate 3 weeks ago, Clinton was evasive on at least 5 different issues, and she got caught waffling on a controversial New York proposal to give driver's licenses to illegal immigrants.
This is where everybody plays gotcha.
No. You said yes.
No.
You thought it made sense to do it.
No, I didn't, Chris.
America is looking for a president who will say the same thing, who will be consistent, who will be straight with them.
After the debate, Clinton's campaign staff said moderator Tim Russert had been unfair. Then Clinton changed her position again on the driver's license issue. Then Clinton's team said gender played a role in rivals' attacks on her. And Clinton herself said at her alma mater,
In so many ways, this all-women's college prepared me to compete in the all-boys club of presidential politics.
Clinton then pivoted away from playing the gender card, and in the last debate, Clinton neutralized her rivals from the start by accusing them of relying previously on dirty attacks.
I don't mind taking hits on my record, on issues, but when somebody starts throwing mud, at least we can hope that it's both accurate and not right out of the Republican playbook.
Obama himself flubbed the driver's license issue in the debate, but it is Clinton's defensive phraseology that is now getting hammered by her rivals and even by Elizabeth Edwards.
I don't think there's any way to describe what John was doing as throwing mud. Important distinctions need to be made in this race, and it's the obligation of the candidates to make the distinctions.
And Hillary Clinton's verbal gymnastics may be hurting her on another important issue, character. When Democrats were asked which candidate was the most honest and trustworthy, Clinton had 15%, Edwards 20%, and Obama 31%. It's often more difficult to project honesty when you're an established national politician than when you're a newcomer on the national political stage. Still, it's Hillary Clinton betting her chips on the wrong issue of experience when Iowa Democrats are indicating right now they want change. 44 days until the Iowa caucuses, and Barack Obama is rising fast. I'm David Schuster for Hardball in New York.
Thank you, David. Are Americans ready for change, and will they take the risk to get it? Anyway, Doris Kearns Goodwin is a presidential historian. She's also a board member of the Ford's Theater Society. I guess that's relevant. But most importantly, you know about the Roosevelt election of 32, the Kennedy election of 60. Is this one of those magic change elections where people take a risk on youth, on philosophy, and say, or in the 80 election with Reagan got elected, where they just say, damn it, what we got ain't good enough?
I think what people are feeling is that for the last many decades, America has not been what they wanted it to be. Our position in the world has lost honor, lost credibility. Our position at home is such that economics are not working for a large number of the people. There's this huge gap between the rich and the poor. And in order to change those fundamental things about our situation abroad and what's happening at home, you're going to have change. Yeah, I think they're ready for a risk.
What about the jack-in-the-box story that popped on us this afternoon that Scott McClellan, the president's spokesman, who was up there at that lectern at the White House press room for months and years, now coming out and saying it was the president, as well as the vice president, the rest of that crowd, that put him up to telling the lie, basically, that his people, Scooter Libby and Karl Rove, were involved in the leak of that CIA agent's identity. I mean, this is a story we plumbed here for 4 years, and now the guy comes out and says, oh, by the way, I knew all along I was misleading you guys.
One wishes.
It's helpful, by the way, Scott, that we know it now.
Yeah, I wish.
It's very useful information.
Yeah, but I wish we had known it before. I mean, it's certain we have press secretaries in the past. We had De Horst, who resigned because he didn't agree with the pardon of Nixon. We had poor Ron Ziegler, who had to say that his previous statements had been inoperative about Watergate because he had been saying there was no involvement on the White House. We have had Stephanopoulos, who in his memoirs said how disgusted he was when he first learned about Jennifer Flowers having more to do with Clinton than he thought. It's helpful if you say it at the time and not come later.
George could have had some suspicions.
He could have. I mean, I don't know why.
Every cover-up isn't believable, but in this case, the president said, President Bush, we can show this tape 1,000,000 times, where he said, if I find out anybody's been involved in leaking the CIA agent's identity, I'll take care of it. Well, his way of taking care of Scooter Libby was to commute his sentence and to save him from prison. That's how he took care of it. The memory of people is maddening. Don't they remember what somebody says 2 months later after they say it? Don't they remember that this guy, Scooter Libby, was convicted by a jury of his peers of obstruction of justice and perjury? And if you bring up the issue of criminality in the White House, people say, what are you talking about? This administration is selling amnesia every day.
You know, I think what happens is there's something about that insulation of the White House that they really think what they say will be believed, and the people around them are only pulling into that, so they don't even look back. I mean, it's like a trial lawyer could say to him, but you said this then, how can you say this now? And they don't think in those terms.
Are we going to have a good historic look at this war in Iraq ever? Is anybody ever going to find out, like the Pentagon Papers, who got into the president's head between September 11, 2001 and sometime later that year and said, Iraq? Who's going to explain to us how the President of the United States bought, either cherry-picked or bought, the argument that Iraq was a strategic threat to the United States?
What you're hoping, which may not happen, is that some of these characters around the president kept a diary, but that's less likely because they worried that their diary might be subpoenaed. Where we know about things from the past are through diaries or letters. They're not writing letters to their family at night. Maybe there'll be emails that people exchange to one another that will come to light of day, but memories are going to be even scarier 30 years from now.
You know who I trust, who I'd go to if I were you? Richard Haas.
Interesting. You think he'd tell the straight tale?
A smart, middle-of-the-road guy who was, he was Assistant Secretary of State for Policy Review. He knew all this stuff. He was working with Colin Powell every day. That's the guy.
And you got to trust people who have their own sense of integrity, who feel that they were hurt by what went on, that they're going to come out with memoirs. It'll come out. Invariably, things come out.
The sooner, the better. And thank God that Scott McClellan is having this pang of conscience and telling us that he was lied to by all these top people, told mistruths, told to cover up for Scooter, told to make Scooter think it was all right to cover up for himself. And I'll say this again. What the president told Scott to say, Scooter said in the witness chair.
Well, don't you think lawyers are going to get involved in this now?
Well, I hope Fitzgerald's watching this whole thing develop because the fingernails are growing on this corpse. Anyway, thank you, Doris Kearns Goodwin, author of one of the great political books of all times, Team of Rivals.